Hey everybody, it's time for our last series of the day, SjoW versus Firebat here at the Xfinity Invitational here in Burbank, California. SjoW versus Firebat should be fun. I think SjoW has a lot to prove. I didn't predict him to win this series, but I also told Monk, I said I would not be surprised to see SjoW tear up the bottom half of the bracket. He's on the verge of a breakout performance. He's a great player. He always hits the top ranks of Legend. Exceptional deck builder with the Warrior class. In fact, people know him in Asia as one of the Warrior gods.
Yeah.
Like, it's him and Kit Kats, I believe.
Yeah. Whenever I talk to people in Asia, like the Chinese, for example, and I ask them who they watch on streams and who they look up to as some of the best players in the West, it's kind of sometimes surprises me that a lot of them often mention SjoW, whereas at SjoW, I feel like in the Western scene, many people
respected as much.
People don't respect him as much, especially the casual viewers, just because he hasn't done too well in tournaments. I mean, he usually does get past the first rounds, past the first few rounds, but he really hasn't had his big showing yet, just yet.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate that that's the case when I think he's one of the most underrated players, and I'm really happy to see him if he's able to perform well. But I can't bet against the world champ, Mr. James Kostasich from Team Archon. He's got Rogue, Paladin, and Mage. You were right.
I was right.
Monk wins the bet.
You know, not only was I right, I said Firebat would be the player not to bring Druid.
You called that from a mile away, Monk. Very impressive. Rogue, Paladin, I'm writing this down, and Mage. We have SjoW running Druid, Mage, and Warrior. Now,
of course, Warrior.
It's cool to be different. Of course, Warrior. It's cool to be different. But will it pay off? Will he be the only player to not bring a Druid deck and win?
Yeah. Yeah, the reason I had said that I didn't think Firebat would be the one to bring a Druid was that at Xfinity, for example, he didn't bring Druid because he did his Excel sheets, and he realized that Druid actually didn't match up against a lot of the classes that were really popular at the time. Like, for example, Mech Mage and what else is like Zoo maybe? Like everyone's gonna bring Mech Mage, right?
Yeah, and then he said Oil Rogue, right?
Okay.
That Druid didn't match up favorably against it, and then yeah, like the Demon Handlock that was starting to get popular too. So
sure. Yeah, so just based on that, he might just not be going with the flow, not be going with gut instinct that Emperor Thurzane makes Druid a lot better.
Paladin is also Druid can struggle with too.
Yeah, so he might be thinking. Yeah, just based on raw, hard data, that Druid is not a class to bring to this tournament.
All right, well, go Firebat. He's different enough, and people, people unfortunately sometimes associate Firebat with like really aggressive and you know like abusive decks, so to speak. But I liken it.
Yeah, I feel like it's more the fact that Firebat is not afraid to play what he thinks the best deck is at the format.
Right.
Of course, he won BlizzCon with Zoo and Hunter, but it's only because he thought those were the best decks at the time. Whereas like some players, they like for example, what are good players that like SjoW for example and Savitz, they pretty much never play aggro decks, right?
I mean, Savitz brought that weird Hobgoblin Paladin deck.
That is true.
Yeah, that's like a very, and he did bring that Murloc one time. But you're right. SjoW also does mix it up, and he played Zoo in the past. Although Zoo is often misrepresented as an aggro deck when it's
more of a board control centric deck.
More of a controlled tempo deck, especially with Soulfire. You made some big tempo swings.
All right, so the game one has started. It's going to be Firebat with the Rogue, unfortunately, against SjoW with as the Warrior God playing the Warrior class.
Yeah, double Armor Smith to start things off too, so lots of armor. Firebat looks already a little bit mentally defeated or exhausted. And looks like he's just going to have to put out this Pilot Shredder and try to answer what's on board.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like Firebat, he kind of gives up mentally in some circumstances when he gets an unfavorable matchup. For example, in the Kingwin tournament, you saw that he queued up Freeze Mage against Warrior and just didn't bother to play the game, just instantly conceded into the next game.
It's one of those things where he's played so much that it feels like everything's down to the exact numbers, and rather than waste his time and frustrate himself, he'd spend his time doing other stuff. Now, Knife Juggler is definitely one of the better cards that could have come out of that thing.
Yeah, true. It can kind of contest with the Armor Smith, especially if a Fan of Knives comes down.
No minion to benefit off of it, but
Fan of Knives actually.
But he's got a board clear.
Fan of Knives seems really good here because normally you don't get any value from Fan in this matchup. You pretty much just use it for 1 damage, or you use it as a cycling card.
Yeah, the Fan, even with spell power, rarely attacks enough on the board to clear it. So I agree. Fan of Knives should be out here pushing out. A little bit more armor, not a big deal. Prep, pretty decent draw for sprint, as well as you know, whatever else he wants to do for the Drake next turn. Baron Geddon. Man, Baron Geddon's making a comeback because of all the aggro decks.
I don't think it ever really left the field. I think everyone playing Warrior, pretty much except for the mid-range Warriors of Orange and Slay, have been still just including Baron Geddon in their decks.
I thought Dr. Boom like took the slot for a while.
That's true. I think you can still have both, in addition to Gorehowl even. I actually heard a very interesting stat from Blizzard, in that if you have Baron Geddon in your deck versus any other card, your chances to win on ladder are increased, or are the highest. So basically, like, it's basically because everyone who's using Baron Geddon is like a really good player, because it's not like an obvious include in their decks, right?
Yeah, it's like that statistic that like Blizzard said the highest win rate on ladder was, or Hearthstat said the highest percentage win rate on ladder was Whirling Zabomatic. Like when the first month that Goblins vs Gnomes came out, that was the highest win rate card.
When it was played or when it was drawn?
When it was played.
That kind of makes sense, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
But it's like sure, you know, if you're able to take a specific sample size, but
yeah, like I feel like with that, it's probably not a big enough sample size.
Yeah.
But like Blizzard is working with the entire sample size, right?
You're right. You're right. So Shield Slam onto the Knife Juggler. That's pretty good news, right, for Firebat?
Yeah, Piloted Shredder got a lot of value there.
And now Firebat gets to pick up another set of cards here. Saps the Sludge Belcher again, or Eviscerates. Yeah, Eviscerate makes a lot of sense too, considering that you can...
The second sap is usually a lot more valuable than the first one, because after you use the second one, your opponent can afford not to play around saps at all.
Oh, they can afford.
Okay.
Yeah, to play around saps.
Yeah.
Well,
Baron
Geddon just plops down, threatens the board. Your opponent just used Eviscerate.
Kind of a rare circumstance where Baron Geddon gets value in this matchup.
What do you think about Ysera and Warrior? Ysera and Warrior was like a card to win the mirror, or like to outgrind. Like when the control meta definitely took over for a little bit, and like Paladins were really good. Ysera was definitely one of those winning trump cards, but
it seems like one of those cards that when people first heard about Emperor Thursday, and it seems like a card that, hey, if you play it for 8 mana, you can put a hero power in, perhaps. Also, like, it's very matchup specific, I feel. Like,
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, like Ysera, it's really good against Druid if you can stabilize, and it's like, it's really good against, what else is it really good against? Mirror, as you mentioned. It's not even really good against Priest anymore, because they have the, in addition to Mind Control, they have the Shrinkmaster Cabal combo.
Shrinkmaster Cabal is so awesome against Ysera. And even if it wasn't, you could, like, you still, some people do run that Recombobulator combo too with Shadow Madness.
Yeah. Yeah, but like a lot of Warrior players really like Ysera, even though like some other players don't.
Yeah.
SjoW likes it. He's put in a lot of Warrior decks. Also, Fibonacci, I believe 2 seasons ago, he hit top 5 Legend with Ysera. It's not like the current meta game, but it's still kind of close. Interesting play.
Well, Gromosh, you know, he didn't have anything else to do. Baron Geddon on that board does absolutely zilch. Harrison Jones has no value, and Acolyte's just way too weak.
Baron, basically, if you put Grom on the field, again, you've seen both saps, so you're not, this Grom isn't getting sapped. Grom on the field, I feel like it's less about the charge and less about the attacking power, but more about the HP that Grom has. Rogue, it pretty much, in order to deal with any minion on the board, it has to either sap it or go through all of its HP. And that's why Oasis Snapjaw was so good against Rogue back in the day of Mid-Range Hunter.
Well, I like developing the Azure Drake here for Firebat. It gives him the ability to drop Thalnos, backstab for 4, and trade into Grom, which is the best way to kill it. And you get to put out Thalnos to cycle card, and you can weapon up. But then Pilot Shredder and SI7 are two cards that you definitely want to also push out as well. And I can't find an appropriate mix of it. Oh, actually, no, you can't weapon up after it. That's unfortunate. So maybe he SI7s instead. So he attacks. Oh, and you know what? The catch-22 is that he can't actually do everything. He can't actually...
He's actually just going to ignore it.
Wait, whoa.
That's potentially very dangerous.
Wow. I was not anticipating that. Super aggressive move, but you know what? This is a matchup that's really difficult already for Rogue. Why are you trying to play the control game over this this warrior? You definitely need to get that damage in with the Lotheb.
It's funny that nothing here is actually very good. I guess you have to play Ysera.
Then kill off the Drake.
Yeah, in this matchup, you really have to be saving all your damage for face. Ysera awakens. I guess that's good.
Double Blade Flurry. So he's got backstab into oil.
So many.
Into big damage.
Do a lot of damage.
He does have to take care of the board a little bit.
This is actually like one
6,
of the
10, 11, 15, 18 damage, 19 damage.
yeah. This is actually one of the the best positions I've ever seen Rogue in this matchup.
Yeah.
And it's more about the warrior drawing poorly rather than the Rogue drawing especially well. Oh, he's gonna get so punished here.
Whoa, Ysera awakens.
Not only that, but that Harrison Jones is gonna get the most value I've ever seen.
Oh man. Yeah, you're right. So
the only question here is
would you want to Ysera awakens first?
Exactly.
And then play Harrison?
Is there anything you could possibly draw in order to kill this SI agent? Like, do you even have to Ysera awakens is a question, because you have so much
you do damage to yourself though.
Yeah. That being said, like, because you have the Harrison Jones and you get rid of his weapon, that's going to be so good anyway, that you're not really afraid of too much of a burst.
Oh, man.
And you're setting up lethal.
Yeah, that Ysera is coming in so clutch. Is there another damage point?
It's fortunately not something like a nightmare, but...
it was definitely a valiant effort, but I think Firebat's toasty toast. I really like some of the attacks he made, but... I mean, he's just so, it's just so difficult to win from certain positions.
Yeah, he basically, because this matchup is so bad, like Firebat, his position in relation to the matchup was actually really good. Usually Rogues never get to that state because Warrior is just such a good matchup against Rogue. But even then, he had to take a lot of risks, like going for that big weapon. He had to make sure he had to kind of guess that his opponent didn't have Harrison Jones. Fortunately, that was not the case, and SjoW can just take it really slowly.
Oh man, Succubus is just completely destroying the field today. Just like so much damage, and now like a deadly poison means it's a board clear, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
Oh. Well, you called it, Frodan.
Yeah. Oil. Yeah. Blade Flurry.
So many questions.
And unfortunately doesn't allow him to play the Azure Drake, but he still can re-weapon. Yeah, I mean, Firebat's kind of close. The fact that, like, his opponent's at 10 health, that's, like, the closest. He's gonna prep? Oh my god, are you serious? The ball's on this kid. Are you
kidding
serious, dude?
That was a game-winning play, too, because now, like, it's really hard for SjoW to deal with that. He's gonna have to dream that Azure Drake.
Oh, sweet lord. No reaction, man. This guy has ice in his veins.
Oh, man.
Oh, he's going to
Dreaming
axe it down to execute?
No, just he has to dream it.
Right.
That's fair, too.
Man, I mean, despite all this, he's still only halfway done killing him. Warrior's at half life, 14 health. 16, sorry. Correct me. He's on the wrong side of half health. Another deadly poison. This Drake needs to pick up something big.
Needs Eviscerate, because that Mystic is not hit.
He's 1 damage off from being able to kill off this this shield main effectively.
Yeah, he can still Blade Flurry it down, but...
No, it's going to be 1 damage short.
Oh, yeah.
So, very, very close game, but man, what a very intense matchup. You know, Firebat, I don't know if he was willing to summon all of his RNG right there to get that preparation.
He got a lot of it, though, like getting that preparation. It was pretty much he needed that preparation, but I guess he kind of considered that. I'm not sure if he had used a preparation at all in that a certain game, and he had only like 4 or 5 cards left in his entire deck.
Yeah, also somewhat unfortunate that the, you know, like, for example, that the Ysera got cards that would really impactful. If it was just like Emerald Drakes and Laughing Sisters,
they could just be Blade Flurry down, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, fun game so far, fun series as if it's over. SjoW loses the Warrior from his lineup, but he gets the win. So he has Druid Mage versus Rogue Paladin and Mage. Yeah. Still pretty doable.
Yeah, we saw that Rogue actually had a Kazan Mystic teched in, so I think Firebat definitely expecting a lot of Hunters, expecting a lot of Mages in this tournament. You have to think that SjoW's lineup was kind of predictable. Like, you could kind of expect SjoW to play Warrior, possibly expect him to play Druid as well. So I think Firebat, with his choice to bring Kazan Mystic into the Rogue, he's thinking more ahead and not specifically aimed towards SjoW's lineup.
Absolutely. Taking a look at what's best from this point on, there's Druid and Mage, and I think Rogue is okay at taking on both of them. So I think Firebat queues up Rogue again, just tries to go for it and see what SjoW does in response. That
being said, Firebat, he did come up with a statistic that players who lose with a certain deck, they have like an 80% chance of re-queuing it. So if he's to go against the grain and try not to be predictable, I think maybe he chooses a different deck.
Sure. All right.
He seems like the type of player who would do that, right?
I think Mage would also be okay then. Unless it's a freeze Mage, in which case he probably should queue Paladin. So if he doesn't want to be predictable, he chooses Paladin. If he's just trying to go for the best odds, then he goes for the Rogue. Because who cares if you're predictable if it's like the best percentage that you have at your disposal?
That's true. Is it really the best percentage though? Because maybe the like Firebat does think that Rogue is favorable against Druid, but some other players, like I was talking to Tyson, pretty much all the players at EU versus CN kind of agreed that Druid was slightly favored. Maybe it's kind of a group mentality thing when one player says it's favored, the others all like in the group say it's favored. I think it's
they
around.
Want to disagree.
Yeah, they didn't want to disagree with like players like Tyson, Colento, right?
It's I found out that agreeing with Colento is very hard to do because it's specific to him. Because like Colento's like a guy that like the normal rules don't apply to a guy like him.
Like he thinks like some matchups are more favored in one end than like most people. Like he does say that, for example, Priest versus Druid is 50-50, and I know Firebat agrees with him, but Amaz is a player very known for saying that Priest is actually very unfavored against Druid.
Well, Rogue versus Mage coming up here on stream. That's gonna be what we thought. Just because I think you really can't go wrong. SjoW, I think he's gonna bust out the Mech Mage. That's just up his alley, I think. It's a good mixture. You have the mid-range Druid, you have the aggressive Mage, and you have the control Warrior.
Is there any possibility for a Tempo Mage coming from SjoW?
That is a possibility too. In fact, the reason why I felt like we've been seeing it more commonly is because the Europeans have actually taken a liking to this Tempo Mage deck. It climbed to #1 legend just a month and a half ago, and it is a possibility. But it is Mech Mage indeed, and I think it caters more towards what SjoW likes to do here. He likes to definitely go for a mixture of styles, and the change of speed is what really throws people off here.
Yeah, I think SjoW is a player who just likes to play with what he's most comfortable with. For example, back in StarCraft 2, he was very known for being a player who just never scouted his opponent, doing the same build over and over again, and not really reacting because what he said was basically, I'm going to do the same thing every single game anyway, so why would I scout in order to change up my game when I'm not going to change up my game anyway, no matter what I scouted?
Yeah, like the whole point is that you would get information from your opponent only if you're going to change anything. So, yeah. Firebat saps immediately. His hand's looking quite feeble.
Right atrocious, actually.
Yeah. At the same time, SjoW has not the quickest of starts himself either.
That's interesting. So, SjoW decided to play the Snow Chugger and turn 1 by coining it out, but he actually chooses a different minion for turn 2, even though he had the same choice yet again. And he's going to get slightly punished for it.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see what he was trying to play around. Perhaps like backstab SI engine. Yeah.
Yeah. Mech Warper is pretty nice, but it's just going to get Blade Flurried away. In fact, that's probably the play he shouldn't do, just because he loses 3 cards. I guess he gains half of it back.
It's the very obvious play, and it's the very tempting play. I think 95% of players would go for it.
No, 99% of players. Okay. Actually, probably 95, because the 5% of Mech Mage players wouldn't know what to do. They ping themselves in the face.
You think really lowly of Mech Mage players, don't you?
Oh, come on.
They're not as bad as Face Hunters. Not as bad as Face Hunters.
Well, the thing about Face Hunters is that it won't let you ping yourself in the face.
That's true. That's true.
That's how Blizzard can nerf Face Hunters. They can make you target your own face.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah? Yeah.
You can you can't target your own face if you have the Steam Weedle Sniper on your side of the board, right?
You can only target minions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
That's proof. Wow, he actually is playing around Blade Flurry.
I'm really impressed. Wow.
Whoa, that's really sick. That's, oh my goodness.
Go SjoW.
And of course, Firebat doesn't bite. He knows the potency of what that Blade Flurry represents. Really high. Okay, this is really impressive on both ends.
Yeah,
I like
high level Hearthstone play.
This is good stuff. Well, Goblin Blast Mage 4 to the face. No complaints here, and he freezes the blade, but of course Firebat's not intending to attack with that anyways. Drake right on curve. But more importantly,
this Blade Flurry doesn't actually clear the board anymore.
Farseer. Is he gonna sap?
Sapping Goblin Blast Mage. That's like giving your opponent 4 extra damage, right?
Yeah. Oh wait, we forgot. I forgot about the Mirror Entity, of course.
Okay,
that's what he needed to account for. That's why he didn't want to give the Drake or anything else.
That's still okay. It's okay from both sides. So SjoW going with the more old school Mech Mage with the 1 Mechanical Yeti Tecton. So what that usually means is no Azure Drake, no Piloted Sky Golem.
Right.
Well, maybe 1 Azure Drake. Usually it's, if you cut that Mechanical Yeti, you can fit in 2 Azure Drakes like Kalento has been doing, or you can fit in a Piloted Sky Golem like Life Coach has been doing, or you can fit in a Lotheb, like what most players are doing.
Yeah, I think I like Frostbolting this Earthring Farseer and just poking a little bit more damage.
Yeah, if that spare part were like +1 health, I think it would get used on the Blast Mage immediately.
Alright. It's another way to deal with the Drake, another Blade Flurry. You sap this Mech Warper? Oh, he's willing to pay the damage. Oh boy. If he pays that damage, he's gonna be down to 15. Mech Warper's gonna bring him down to 13.
Unless he saps again. So Firebat's just not drawing the cards that the tempo cards that he needs, and those cards are Backstab and Preparation essentially. I think those are really the and SI Agent of course. Those are really the key cards in this matchup.
Well, Mech Warper allows him to do some pretty dirty things this turn. A Noyatron plus the Mechanical Yeti.
Yeah, now if Firebat gets like a Deadly Poison, it's not even that good with the Blade Flurry. You still won't be able to combo it up.
Drake is pretty decent though. Drake allows him potentially to pick up a board clear.
All you can do here is clear the
Mech Warper.
Exactly. And then you're looking at a Dr. Boom the following turn when you've used both saps.
Yeah.
And you use like one of your board wipes as well. Okay, so backstabbing this. So basically,
AoE.
what he's saying is that he needs to draw either an oil or a deadly poison next turn.
No,
He's just gonna AoE. Okay.
He's got to stop taking damage. All right.
So he's
reversing
used
switch.
both board clears. So now Dr. Boom is even worse.
Yikes. Yeah, I think SjoW's really close to closing this one out. The Dr. Boom coming down here is going to generate a lot of damage, and he has the Fireball to back it up too. So, I'm pretty sure Firebat is just dead. He's used both sats, he's used all his Blade Flurries. There's no way for him out of this one. And I don't see a way I'm out of this one. The Dr. Boom itself is just so much damage.
Can he actually heal out of... I think he can possibly survive one turn. By Lotheb and heal.
Okay, 7, 10, 11.
That's only 12 guaranteed damage.
Yeah, you're right. So, are you worried about dying? He already used Blade Flurry, so there's no way. 5, 12, 18 with the oil, Eviscerate, 22, 23. No, even if he had like the absolute best 3 cards in his hand, there's no way that SjoW would die.
I think he can still...
Play it safe.
Yeah, possibly play it safe though.
But Dr. Boom has to hit face, right?
Yeah, I would think so. It's just that you can use your like Mech Warper plus a Boombot to maybe clear off the Azure Drake, for example.
Okay, emergency coolant, not really going to do anything. I mean, the reality is SjoW doesn't have to do much. To be extra safe means that you would deny your opponent the ability to do like actually the most impossible things, like clear the board with Phantom Knives and stuff. Boombots land pretty weak on the Farseer. Boot bomb number 2.
Oh. Yeah, let's just trade with the Azure Drake here. Fair enough.
All right.
Fair enough, sure.
Pretty inconsequential, because the Fireball still is in hand. Don't foresee a way for Firebat out of this one.
He does get the oil, but it's almost certainly not enough. No way to board clear, no way to sap. And SjoW's going to go up 2-0.
All right, so looks like SjoW is down 0-2, and we're going, or sorry, SjoW is up 2-2. He's going to go into potentially the game-winning match here, as Druid will have to just win one game against Rogue, Paladin, Mage. Definitely really doable.
Yeah, certainly, because Druid, every player has won with Druid so far, except for Savit, so that's pretty much, how many players? 1, 2, 3, 4. 10 players have won with Druid, or 9 players have won with Druid? Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, basically only Savitz has not won with Druid, and Reynad, unfortunately, he didn't get to play today.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11 out of 12
11
players
out of 12 players have won a game with
the Druid.
So I'm really liking SjoW's chances here, especially because he gets 3 chances to win with Druid.
That'd be ridiculous. Well, can Firebat pull it back 3-2? I'm not sure, man. I think he looks a little bit defeated at the moment. His body language, it could be the fact that he's been casting all day, and he's probably a little bit fatigued at the moment because it's getting late over there.
He's been having to play a lot of tournaments too, and not only in addition to his casting.
That's right.
Not only that, he's been doing shows like Suitstone, so he's been preparing a lot, and he might not have a devoted enough time for this tournament compared to some of the other tournaments he's gone to.
Yeah, sure. I guess he's got to really make a decision whether or not he wants to, potentially swing this around right here, defeating the Druid 3 times, or...
Oh, I thought you were going to say he has to make a decision as to whether he wants to continue as a Hearthstone player or retire as a caster.
Yes, he won BlizzCon, and I think he should retire. That's definitely the next logical step for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it is the...
I actually like Firebat's cast. I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. I think some people give him a little bit of a hard time recently just because, you know, he's naturally a homer for some of his teammates. But I think he provides really good analysis and insight, and he does call out people on misplays a lot. Some people don't like that. Personally, I like it. I know it's not for everybody, but
it adds a bit of flair to the cast, and
it does.
Yeah.
You know, guys like Admirable are also very opinionated on that. That's partially why they love shade him, right? It's just how you become like one of the opinionated guys.
Yeah.
If you're just vanilla and boring like me, Mug, no one really likes you.
I'm sure plenty of people like you.
I know. I'm just facetious there. So Rogue versus Druid. One more time. See if he can queue up with Rogue. Can he do it, man? I feel like Firebat's... He's just queuing up Rogue to try to see if he can get a win here, because it's statistically the best against the field. And isn't Firebat saying that Rogue's the best?
Yeah, definitely. But I'm not sure if it is indeed the best after Blackrock Mountain, simply because a lot of decks like the Face Hunter have become more popular lately, so that might skew the percentages all over again. Face Hunter and Druid, perhaps. Druid is even if you think that Rogue is a favorable matchup against Druid, I don't think anyone thinks it's an extremely favorable matchup. So that deck, Druid becoming more popular, it also, I think, lowers the value of Rogue as a deck in tournaments.
Touche.
Once again, I believe this is the third game in a row where Firebat doesn't have the coin as Rogue.
Yeah, that's rough. Having the coin is just so valuable to get that extra card, give that extra combo piece. Another 1-1 with the Violet Teachers.
Yeah. Well,
and there's a wild growth for sure.
Of course. And Firebat's hand is just terrible.
Yeah, I'm not really digging it much. And he's going to be able to go into the Shade of Naxxramas.
Yeah, yet another somewhat terrible card. Again, always the dream is Violet Teacher prep and either Eviscerate or Sap on turn 4. But Firebat has none of those.
The Druid curve is also
just amazing.
Astounding. You have the Shade of Naxxramas into the Pilot Shredder into the Intervene Doctor.
That's great.
Unless Firebat picks up like amazing ways to seize back tempo in the next couple of draws, that Dr. Boom is going to run him over.
Backstabs might help out a bit. I think he might just be forced to play a Sap on this turn. Right, you can just backstab and then poke poke the Shredder, then Eviscerate as well. Yeah, seems good. Come on, he's hoping for something bad. Oh. That's...
Actually, I don't even know how to evaluate that.
Yeah. We're speechless.
I guess you just Blade Flurries and read daggers, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Just so that way it doesn't get easily eaten up by the Shade Naxxramas.
Now Dr. Balance will be coming out. You know, an interesting tidbit. Emperor Thursday too. But an interesting tidbit about Dr. Balance, you know, in the Western scene, we usually jokingly refer to Dr. Boom as Dr. Balance sometimes in casts. In the Chinese scene, they just flat out call it Dr. Balance. They don't like call it Dr. Boom at all. They just say Dr. Balance, and it's kind of like the way the slang for Kolento is Keishin, which means K-God. They don't even say his name at all.
So his name's not Kolento, it's just Keishin.
Keishin. And then Dr. Balanced. They say it in English too.
Chinese sound kind of whiny, man. If you ask me.
That's true.
Jeez. All right, well, you know, all kidding aside, the Dr. Boom is really intense right now. That's so much pressure. Firebat might get ran over too by Savage Roar if he doesn't deal with this.
How can he even deal with it? You just have to backstab Eviscerate.
Blade Flurry?
Backstab Eviscerate, Blade Flurry, wow.
I mean, his opponent used to Innervate as well.
Yeah, but that's 3 cards and a weapon to deal with Dr. Boom?
Well, Dr. Boom came out with 2 cards.
Yeah. And the Boombots even kill the Farseer.
That one's a tough pill to swallow. Emperor Thorsan is almost certainly going to lock this game out if Firebat doesn't have, because Blade Flurry is done. So actually, that's almost a game right here. Because next turn he's got Druid of the Claw and Savage Roar, so that's actually game.
Wow. Firebat just gives up.
Nah, he's dead. There's no way he could have survived that. And SjoW 3-0s Firebat.
And I have to say, I'm really proud of SjoW because I picked him on my bracket.
Yeah.
And I get some points here.
I had Firebat going to the finals, man.
Wow, you're certainly not going to win
No,
that.
I got wrecked. The second half of the day completely destroyed my bracket.
So let's do a tally up of how many matches we got correct.
All right, so we started off the day with Lothar versus Savitz. Lothar won that.
Okay.
Then we had Dog versus Nadia, where Dog won that. And then Forsen beat Orange. So that was the third match of the day. And that's when I stopped guessing anything correctly.
All right, so I think I had about 4 out of 7 possible matches incorrect. So 4 out of 4 out of 8, if we include Reynad over Masan.
Yeah. I predicted Reynad over Masan. So 4 out of 8 so far as well. Strifeko, of course, he played against RDU, but RDU took the better of that series. Trump defeated Hyped. Maz lost to Tides, and then SjoW just 3-0'd Firebat. And our top 8 stands as thus. We have RDU versus Reynad. That should be fun. Yeah. Trump versus Lothar. I think that whoever wins that, it's a pretty good result for top 4 for them. And then Forsen versus Dog. Tides of Time versus SjoW. Yeah,
definitely an interesting bracket. Definitely not the players that we might expect. Like we usually expect players like Strifecrow, Savitz, and Firebat in the top 8. But in this lineup, I actually really like because we have a lot of interesting and a lot of solid players. Tides especially, his matchup against Maz was definitely my favorite of the day.
For sure.
With his Echo Giants Mage.
And we'll see it again tomorrow to see if Tides can defeat SjoW and ultimately claim themselves the Xfinity champion. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in. Tomorrow we're going to continue the round of 8 onwards all the way to the finals of this $10,000 event. Check out everything at xfinityhearthstone.com where you can find more information about the brackets, predictions, our great sponsor Xfinity, as well as the start time, which is tomorrow at noon PST. So from Frodan Monk and everyone else at the ESL production crew, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.